1:33 a.m. Strait of Hormuz, 11 nautical miles southwest of Larak Island. 11 Iranian vessels just completed a full encirclement of the USS Sirocco. The patrol craft was surrounded on every bearing. Then the first shot came from the northeast. Welcome to Global Warfare TV. Tonight we are reconstructing the most complete naval encirclement of a U.S. military vessel in the history of modern Persian Gulf operations. 11 Iranian fast boats and patrol craft surrounding a single 179-foot U.S. Navy coastal patrol ship at 1:33 a.m. in the Strait of Hormuz, with no supporting U.S. assets within 50 nautical miles. And a crew of 28 who had one functional radio, 2 Mark 38 guns, and a commanding officer who had to decide whether the ROE permitted him to open fire when surrounded on every bearing simultaneously. We are going through the full timeline, the tactical mechanics of how an 11-vessel encirclement works, the catastrophic communications failure that left the Sirocco isolated, and what happened after the first shot was fired. This is one of the most tactically complex single-ship situations the U.S. Navy has managed in the modern era. The USS Sirocco, hull designation PC-6, Cyclone-class coastal patrol ship, 179 feet, 336 tons displacement, 28-person crew, armament, 125mm Mk 38 chain gun forward, 2.50 caliber M 2HB machine guns amidships, 1 Mk 1940mm automatic grenade launcher aft, and 2 25mm stabilized remote weapon stations. She is a fast ship, capable of 35 knots, and highly maneuverable. She is not armored. She is not designed to absorb sustained fire from multiple directions simultaneously. She has one key weakness that matters enormously in an encirclement scenario. Her weapon systems all require line of sight and physical crew presence. There is no system on a Cyclone-class ship that can engage targets on multiple simultaneous bearings autonomously. Every gun requires a human being behind it, aiming it, firing it. With 11 threats on 11 bearings, those 28 crew members are spread very thin. On the night of the engagement, the Sirocco had been tasked as the on-scene commander for a maritime security patrol in the western approaches to the Strait of Hormuz. Her task partner, the USS Hurricane, another Cyclone-class ship, had been dispatched to respond to a commercial vessel distress call 67 nautical miles to the south at 11:40 p.m. The diversion had been approved by 5th Fleet Operations without a replacement asset being assigned. The Sirocco had been alone in her patrol box since 11:40 p.m. A communications anomaly had developed at 12:19 a.m. The Sirocco's primary UHF satellite communication system went offline. The technical fault was identified by the ship's communications officer as a failure in the satellite modem's frequency synthesizer, a component that had shown intermittent problems during the previous patrol. The backup UHF system was activated. It operated on a different frequency set, but provided the same connectivity. The backup system's output power was 40% lower than the primary, a characteristic that was documented in the ship's technical manual but was not well known among the watch crew. The lower output power meant that the Sirocco's transmissions on the backup UHF were at the edge of reliable reception range for the 5th Fleet's relay station. On a calm night with minimal atmospheric interference, the communications would have worked. On this night, there was elevated atmospheric ducting over the Persian Gulf, a meteorological condition common in the region that degraded the backup UHF range further. The Sirocco's communications, in practical terms, were marginal in the outbound direction from 12:19 a.m. onward. The ship's crew did not fully realize this. Transmissions were going out. Acknowledgements were not consistently coming back. The watch officer logged this as intermittent comms, backup UHF, but did not treat it as a crisis. This was an error that compounded everything that followed. At 12:55 a.m., the Sirocco's radar began detecting surface contacts departing from the direction of Keshem Island. The initial count, 4 contacts, speed 28 knots, bearing consistent with an intercept course. The CO was woken. He authorized tracking and attempted to transmit a sitrep to 5th Fleet. The transmission went out. No acknowledgement came back. He tried again at 1:02 a.m., again at 1:11 a.m. No acknowledgement. At 1:09 a.m., 7 additional contacts had appeared from a second direction, from the northwest, origin consistent with Bandar Lenge on the Iranian coast. 11 contacts total, all converging. The CO now had a clear tactical picture. He was being approached from 2 separate directions by a significant IRGCN force. He attempted a 3rd transmission to 5th Fleet at 1:14 a.m. and added a flash priority designation to the message. 5th Fleet's relay station received the transmission at 1:14 a.m. It was degraded, partially unintelligible due to the atmospheric ducting effect. The watch officer at the relay station logged the partial message as possible comms test from USS Sirocco and queued it for the communications technician to follow up on during the next routine check cycle. The partial message did not register as a flash distress call. The word flash had been in the corrupted portion of the signal. The Sirocco was alone. At 1:26 a.m., the 11 Iranian contacts established their encirclement. They moved into position with a precision that indicated this was a trained and practiced maneuver, not a spontaneous response. 5 boats formed a northern arc. 4 boats formed a southern arc. 2 larger patrol craft, Hendijan class, each carrying 40mm cannon and the potential for anti-ship missiles, positioned themselves to the east and west. The Sirocco was inside a ring approximately 1.8 nautical miles in diameter, with Iranian vessels evenly spaced around its entire circumference. This is a tactic the IRGCN has developed specifically for use against smaller U.S. Navy vessels. The logic is as follows. A single Cyclone-class ship engaged by 1 or 2 fast boats can orient her guns toward the threat and fight effectively. An encircled ship cannot. Every gun that points at a target on one bearing is pointing away from targets on the opposing bearing. The crew is divided. The decision-making becomes paralyzed by geometry. If all 11 vessels open fire simultaneously, there is no direction the ship can maneuver toward that takes her away from fire. The CO of the Sirocco made the decision that probably saved his ship in the first 5 minutes after the encirclement was established. He did not divide his defenses. He did not attempt to man all gun positions simultaneously. Instead, he directed his crew to concentrate the 25mm Mark 38 forward, both .50 calibers amidships, and the Mark 19 aft, all trained on the eastern Hendijan, the one armed with the heaviest weapons, the one most likely to escalate to missiles or cannon fire. He designated the eastern Hendijan as the primary threat and told his crew, "If we fire at that vessel first, we destroy it, and then we deal with what comes next." He also ordered the ship to begin slow maneuvering, not a course change, but a slow clockwise rotation. By rotating the ship in place at approximately 2 knots, he was keeping his crew's mental picture of the encirclement oriented and preventing the Iranian boats from identifying a static firing solution for any guided weapon. A rotating ship is a harder target than a stationary one. At 1:33 a.m., the first shot was fired. It did not come from the eastern Hendijan. It came from one of the northern arc fast boats, bearing 347, range approximately 1,200 meters. A single 12.7mm heavy machine gun burst. The rounds impacted the water 40 meters off the Sirocco's port bow. In the ROE framework applicable to the Sirocco's operations, that shot, rounds fired at or near a U.S. naval vessel from a vessel that is part of a hostile encirclement, constitutes a hostile act. The CO was authorized to respond with force. He had designated his target already. He gave the order at 1:33:14. The 25mm Mark 38 opened fire on the eastern Hendijan at 1:33:19. Range 1,100 meters. The 25mm round at that range against an unarmored patrol vessel is highly effective. The Mark 38 fired in burst mode, 12 rounds in approximately 4 seconds. The eastern Hendigen's bridge structure was struck multiple times. The vessel lost steering and began a slow turn to port, trailing smoke. In the next 40 seconds, the Encirclement began to fracture. 3 of the northern ARC boats turned and accelerated away from the Sirocco when the Mark 38 opened fire. The sound and light signature of a 25mm chain gun firing in the dark at close range is significant. The acoustic shock, the muzzle flash, the tracers. 2 of the southern ARC boats did the same. 5 of 11 Iranian vessels had withdrawn within 40 seconds of the first U.S. shot. The remaining 5, 2 pay caps from the northern ARC, 2 from the southern ARC, and the damaged Hendigen stayed. This was the dangerous phase of the engagement. 4 functional IRGCN fast boats and 1 damaged patrol vessel. The Sirocco's guns were split now, the 25mm continuing to suppress the damaged Hendigen, both .50 caliber directed at the 2 northern pay caps closing from 900 meters. The Mark 19 elevated and pointed at the 2 southern pay caps at 1,300 meters. At 1:34:07, one of the northern pay caps fired an RPG. The round passed over the Sirocco's forward deck and detonated in the water 12 meters off the starboard side. The explosion was close enough to shake the ship. A sailor manning the starboard .50 caliber was knocked off his feet by the pressure wave. He got back up and kept firing. That detail was in the official report. He kept firing. The starboard .50 caliber engaged the RPG firing pay cap at 1:34:12. At 700 meters, a .50 caliber M2HB firing sustained bursts against an unarmored fast boat is brutally effective. The boat's engine compartment was struck, it lost power, and began to drift. The second northern pay cap veered away when its partner was disabled. The southern pay caps launched a coordinated run at 1:34:44. Both boats accelerating to maximum speed directly toward the Sirocco from the south. The Mark 19 grenade launcher opened up at 1,100 meters. The Mark 19 fires 40mm grenades at 325 rounds per minute. The grenade pattern at that range against fast-moving small craft creates an area saturation effect. The lead southern pay cap took multiple fragmentation hits. It did not sink immediately. The grenades are not armor-piercing, but it lost 1 engine and slowed dramatically. The second southern pay cap broke off its run and turned away. At 1:36 a.m., the damaged Hendigen, which had been taking sustained 25mm fire for nearly 3 minutes, stopped moving entirely. Her crew was visible on her deck attempting to use firefighting equipment. She was not firing. The CO ordered his crew to cease fire at 1:37:18. He attempted again to reach 5th Fleet on the backup UHF. This time the transmission got through. At 1:38:04, 5th Fleet received a clear sitrep from the Sirocco. The relay station watch officer stared at the message for 3 seconds, then ran it up to the duty commander. Within 8 minutes, 2 MH-60S helicopters from the USS Bataan were airborne and vectored toward the Sirocco's position. The helicopters arrived at 1:57 a.m. The immediate threat had been over for 20 minutes. The Sirocco's damage assessment, 1 RPG near miss, had produced concussive effects on 2 crew members. The sailor who had been knocked off his feet and a second sailor below decks who had taken a hard impact against a bulkhead during the pressure wave. Neither required medevac. The ship's hull was intact, no flooding, no penetrating hits. Iranian losses. The eastern Hendigen was assessed as severely damaged and non-operational. Post-engagement satellite imagery showed the vessel being towed back to Keshem Island the following morning. The disabled pay cap, the one whose engine had been hit by the .50 caliber, was recovered by Iranian vessels within 45 minutes of the engagement ending. The status of its crew was never publicly confirmed. The intelligence review that followed produced findings that significantly alarmed Fifth Fleet planners. The 11-vessel encirclement had been rehearsed. Satellite imagery reviewed after the engagement identified a training exercise in a bay near Bandar Elenge, conducted 3 weeks prior to the Sirocco incident. The imagery showed a similar formation of Iranian vessels practicing encirclement maneuvers against a stationary buoy. The imagery had been collected. It had been filed. It had not been distributed as a threat indicator to the Sirocco's operational commander before the patrol. The collection existed. The analysis had not connected the training pattern to an operational threat. The communications failure, the UHF synthesizer fault, and the atmospheric ducting was investigated separately. The synthesizer fault was traced to a known maintenance backlog. The component had been flagged for replacement during the previous port call, but the replacement part was not available in the supply chain. The ship had deployed with a known marginal component. The atmospheric ducting was unavoidable, a weather effect. But the combination of the two created the communications isolation that left the Sirocco fighting alone for over an hour. Fifth Fleet issued revised doctrine for Cyclone-class ship operations within 60 days. Solo patrol boxes within 70 nautical miles of Abu Musa or Keshem Island were suspended. All patrol craft were required to have verified two-way communications with Fifth Fleet before entering the primary patrol area. An automated flash alert threshold was established. If a ship's communications showed no acknowledged two-way contact for more than 20 minutes, the relay station was required to initiate an active verification call rather than logging the anomaly and waiting. The CO of the USS Sirocco received the Navy Commendation Medal with Combat Distinguishing Device. The citation was specific: decisive action under complete communications, isolation, and tactical encirclement, demonstrating superior judgment in threat prioritization and weapons employment that preserved the vessel and crew against numerically superior hostile forces. The sailor who had been knocked off his feet by the RPG pressure wave and gotten back up and kept firing received the Navy Achievement Medal with Combat Distinguishing Device. His citation used 7 words that said more than the rest of the paragraph. Returned immediately to his weapon and continued firing. 11 vessels, 1 patrol ship, 28 crew. A communications failure that left them alone for 64 minutes. An encirclement designed to paralyze. A CO who identified his primary target before the first shot was fired and never changed his priority. 4 minutes of combat, and a sailor who got knocked down and got back up. That is what being encircled in the Strait of Hormuz looks like at 1:33 a.m. Not a fair fight, not a winnable scenario on paper, a situation that was survived because the right decisions were made in the right order before the first Iranian round crossed the Sirocco's bow. Global Warfare TV covers the engagements that don't get headlines but determine the balance of power in the world's most contested waterways. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tell us in the comments. At 1:26 a.m., surrounded on all sides and unable to reach Fifth Fleet, what is your primary target and why? Because the CO of the Sirocco picked his before the shooting started. That choice made everything else possible. Stay vigilant, stay informed. I'll see you in the next one.